Welcome to another episode of the 2025 Consular series. I'm your host, Lawrence Christoffels, for the Global Trade Show on Import Export TV. Today we're in beautiful Fremantle in Western Australia, and I've got the absolute pleasure of being here with Imants, who's the Honorary Consul General here in Western Australia for Latvia. Imants, thanks so much for joining me.
It's a pleasure, Lawrence. Lovely to have you here.
Our pleasure. So, Imants, tell us about your background, your role as the Honorary Consul here in WA, how long you've done it, and some of the things about you personally.
I was appointed on the 27th of July of last year. So it's fairly new to the role. I mean, obviously there's the normal administrative side of the Honorary Consul role, working with the Latvian community, and also because of my business background, developing bilateral trade and investment between Latvia and Western Australia.
Lovely, yeah.
The most important state in Australia. So my parents fled Latvia basically in 1945, and the Russians came in the second time.
Mm.
And ended up in DP camps, in displaced person camps in Germany, and then came to Australia in 1949.
Mm.
And my father's a mechanical engineer. Couldn't speak English, obviously. It had no money. 4 kids. And the deal there was the DPs had to work wherever the government sent them for 2 years. And my dad ended up in a timber mill, Dwellingup.
Okay.
So I was born in Dwellingup.
You are.
So I'm a real West Australian.
Yeah.
with Latvian ancestry. So I have two passports. I have a Latvian passport and an Australian passport. So you can see the flag,
Yeah.
the Aussie flag and the Latvian flag together. So I'm very honoured to have the opportunity to develop links between the two countries. Yeah. So it's a great job. I really enjoyed it.
Well, fantastic. Yeah. Congratulations on the appointment.
Thanks.
I know that there's so many great opportunities. As we've talked off camera, I think we've had a great chat with Sabine over in Roller, and I'm sure she'll appreciate all the work you're doing over here in WA as well as a bigger team.
Yeah, no, Leah do a good job. I mean, I think Sabine's been in Melbourne now for about a year and a half, almost 2 years, doing a great job. Not before time that Leah had a represented in Australia, because it's a major market. It's a major market, even though you've got the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere. There are a lot of opportunities, but you just need people on the ground.
Yeah. And you mentioned WA. I mean, this whole massive part of the opportunities between Latvia. Let's explore some of those if we can. So, what are the key industry sectors that you see as opportunities between Australia, WA focus for Latvia?
Yeah, I think it's important to understand, the context, the two economies, and I'm a win-win guy. I mean, deals should have win-win on both sides of the desk. I'm not a zero-sum game person, so it's important to understand what the comparative advantages are of the two of the two countries. And obviously Western Australia, its GDP is 404 billion versus Latvia's of about 90 billion Aussie. So, one of the obvious areas is Western Australia provides scale, and particularly scale in mining and energy. We're world leaders in the mining and energy areas. And what people tend to forget is that those mining and energy companies, their procurement budgets every year, we're talking tens of billions of dollars. If I take one of the smaller tier 1 iron ore companies, they're procuring $1 to $2 billion of equipment and services every year.
Yep.
And one of the areas that I see that I really going to focus on is finding out which procurement areas, both goods and services, would interest companies here in Western Australia to source actually from Latvia.
Wonderful.
Latvia's major exports are timber, processed timber, metal engineering, and food processing.
Mm-hmm.
And the metal engineering ones is something that we really need to look at quite closely, because there's a big procurement demand for metal engineering equipment who are here in Western Australia, particularly by the mining industry. So, they're the obvious ones, but what I like to do is do it on a company-to-company basis.
Yeah, build those relationships.
To build a relationship, but also get an understanding of what can the Latvian company provide the West Australian company. So it's easy enough to develop, big conceptual ideas, but where the rubber hits the road is where another person sitting at that end of the table and this one here, have a mutual interest to do a deal.
Yep.
These guys want to buy something and you want to sell something.
Yep.
And so one of the areas that I'm working on is developing closer ties between the WA Chamber of Commerce and Industry and the same body in Latvia.
Wonderful.
That's because governments play an important role. We'll get onto that in Latvia, but it's more about finding the company people and understanding the market and what drives the market and what are the comparative advantages.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think, what you highlighted there is every company with their own nuances and their own, and
Absolutely.
they've got these pipelines of opportunity, especially in those mining, energy, met sectors where until you talk to them, you don't know exactly what they want. You can have this helicopter view, but when you get granular, you can go. It has a lot of opportunity. Lovely.
When you go granular, that's it.
Right. Now, I wanted to ask we talked about the Chambers of Commerce. That I thought makes a lot of sense. What else can WA companies and Australian companies do to leverage your role and the opportunities here? How can they better take advantage of the Latvia opportunities? Because here in Australia, which I'm sure you'd agree, is that we have been traditionally too dependent and probably a little bit lazy on the bigger markets, and we haven't really diversified our procurement or export side. So I think now there's a bit of a wake-up call for Australian businesses to think outside the square.
Yeah, well, we're still trying to negotiate the free trade agreement with the European Union. Latvia is one of the 27 members of the European Union. The world's biggest market, 425 million people. And a member of NATO, so it is an important market, and Australia's certainly kind of lost kind of interest in the European market. So, yeah, it's really a case of developing the specific company to company links, because at the end of the day, it's got to work. Whether there's a cost advantage or whether there's a quality advantage or whether there's a supply chain reliability advantage. I mean, you got to work that out on company to company basis. And there are significant opportunities, even though Latvia is quite small. With its education system and particularly its kind of comparative advantages in terms of cost. Latvia is the fourth best place to do business in the European Union in terms of cost. Obviously one of those areas is cost of wages. So, and the skill set in Latvia, particularly in electronics, is very, very high.
Yeah.
I always use this story. Back in I think it was 1926, a Latvian in Riga developed the first kind of miniature camera. It's called a Minox.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah.
Like when the production in Riga about in 1932, that prior to that, no one had been able to kind of technically create a camera that was so small and could operate, and it became the go-to equipment for every single spy in the world.
Wow.
Yeah, and the company's still operating.
Really?
The company's still operating. Yeah, so Latvia's got a long tradition of being kind of really smart in terms of electronics and engineering. That's just kind of one example. So, yeah, I think working together, the Latvians and the West Australians, I think new industries can be developed.
Yep.
With a kind of different skill set. So there you got opportunities for R&D as well.
Yeah.
We can get on to what are the institutional benefits in Latvia, and one of the biggest ones is that they have special economic zones.
Yep. I was going to ask.
And guess how many we have in Australia?
Zero.
Absolutely zero. Special economic zones are all around us, which are differentiated taxation, differentiated regulations, and one-stop shops.
Yeah.
We have nothing like that. So Latvia's got 5.
Yeah.
It's got two free ports in Riga and Ventspils, and then it's got 3 economic zones. Liepaja, the port in the southeast, at Rēzekne, which is kind of in the east, and that that really provides significant incentives for new businesses to be set up in Latvia. And in fact, we're in the office. We're in the office of SciTech. So we've been looking at. We're doing a feasibility study on establishing this operation, which is a self-deploying communications platform.
Wow.
With it's now 20 foot meter mast with extensions to 24. So we're looking at establishing the European operations in that special economic zone there.
Okay. Yeah.
And the tax rate is 4%.
Wow. Really?
Yeah,
Incredible.
I mean, but serious incentives.
Yeah.
So the Latvians are kind of ahead of it. They understand what in a very competitive global market for investment.
Yeah.
You have to attract foreign capital, overseas capital, and with the right institutional structures and the right regulations. I mean, yeah. So that's I'm really pleased to be working on that because I would love Australia to have special economic zones.
Oh, I saw that.
I mean,
Yeah, that's it's as you say, we're surrounded by them all over APAC region, so many countries, Europe, and so many countries know how to use them as strong levers to attract investment and other businesses. Yeah,
and Latvia is also very, together with Estonia, Baltic neighbour. We're very fast to develop the internet. Latvia's got the 3rd fastest internet speed in the world.
Really?
Second largest coverage of fiber optics.
Yeah.
So yeah, in terms of being ahead of the curve in terms of developing technologies, I mean the Latvians have embraced that very strongly.
Yeah.
Estonians have been very good too, but Latvia really is a 21st century place to do business.
Yeah, and definitely sounds like that technology R&D smarts are there, and I think that's quite prevalent with so many smaller nations who are really punching above their weight in the Australian colloquialism.
Yeah.
To really stand out because they have to. They have to differentiate themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's kind of very, very important. Yeah. And we haven't spoken about tourism. Tourism is obviously another area.
Beautiful benefit.
Oh man, it's a one. Riga, the capital city, used to be known as the Paris of the Baltic.
Really? Okay.
When we had our first period of independence between 1918 and 1940. If you love Prague, you'll love Riga.
Wow.
In fact, you'll love Riga more.
You're not biased.
No, I'm not biased, but no, it's and the food and the culture. We have traditional celebrations in June, the midsummers.
Okay. Yep.
Pojani. Celebrations go for a whole week. People head out to the countryside, and there's bonfires and
Lovely
cheese and bread and beer drinking.
So
that's a connection with Western Australia. So Latvians like their beer.
Right. Well, that's true. I've had some Latvia lager. It's definitely beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. Just about every little town's got their own brewery.
Yeah.
They have a food fair in Riga every year, and the one I went to had all the breweries from all the little towns. It was fantastic. It was just wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's tourism's another one, and student exchange. We're having some discussions with Latvian University about bringing out geology students.
Okay.
For about 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
And talking to some individual mining companies about
some placements in there.
Some placements. Yeah.
Yeah. Lovely.
So yeah, there's a lot of opportunity. There's definitely a lot of opportunity.
Well, you've talked about SciTech. Are there any other case studies that the Australians may not be aware of between Latvia and Australia?
Not that I'm aware of for Western Australia.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Great. Yeah.
That's
great.
It's a kind of a. I refer to my role here as a blank canvas.
Okay. Well, it's
I was very excited about it. I like blank canvases. I'm I'm involved in a whole number of businesses. I'm a director and chairman of companies. what gets me up in the morning is creating something new.
Lovely. Yeah.
Yeah. And so this is a real blank canvas.
Well, then you're a perfect fit as the honorary consul here because, that love for Latvia, that connections, the business nous. As you said before yourself, where the rubber hits the road is to try and build those personal relationships. The tourism side extends that as well, and being opportunities for business come through that as well.
Yeah, and student exchanges. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
what they call it these days, soft power.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's soft skills, soft power, and it's really good. And no, I think do you have anything that you'd like to share that's coming up for 2025? Is there anything in the works yet? It's for any initiatives or programs that you'd like to release in WA?
Oh, I think I mentioned the bringing the two chambers together and having what can we call them? Delegations coming from Latvia to Western Australia, from Western Australia to Latvia. I mean, that's the kind of to me, that's the bridge.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of bridge. And as in business, there's no silver bullet.
No.
It's just
chip away.
Just chip away with a kind of commitment and passion and curiosity, and keep smiling and
Great.
keep at it. Yeah. So,
well, congratulations on the role, and I can see it's going to be an amazing, fantastic way to bridge those two countries together. I'm sure we'll hear and see much more of your initiatives as well, Imants, in the next couple of months and years. So stay in touch. Let's do some more episodes.
Absolutely. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you and the people that tune in to your show.
Wonderful. Well, thanks for so much.
Cheers.
Cheers.